Robert, everyone, welcome to Digital Transformation Bite Size. This is a show or a broadcast that I run to introduce high and emerging technology companies, in particular the thought leaders who set up those companies and are doing amazing things. So welcome to Digital Transformation Bite Size. How are you today?
Thanks, very good. Thanks for the invite.
Really fantastic. Oh, brilliant. So tell me a little bit about FireStart and what caused you to want to start the company in the first place.
We started the company back in 2008. So I'm a software engineer from my professional background, and I always was very keen on like a model-driven approach in terms of building solutions for business purpose. And back then it was very hard with very clunky, heavy code approaches to do that. And especially mid-sized companies really struggle to apply technology on the short term. And we really wanted to take out that complexity, build a platform where really business users can be enabled to get a hand on the processes and build the solutions really tailor-made to their process-specific needs. That was kind of the motivation. Yeah.
FireStart, really interesting name for a company. Tell me how that came about.
Well, we thought of a name that has an emotional attachment that we can line out, and people should be emotionally engaged, and fire is an element that brings emotion usually. On the other hand, it has a very also destructive element, which very often you need when you need to tear down silos and destruct silos in order to build a new process on top of it. And it should also be something that kind of spreads by itself. And once you light the first candle, it should literally spread like fire in the end. This is how we came up with the name.
So what is FireStart and what is it that you actually do, Robert?
FireStart is a process management and automation platform. So it helps you really define your process and build the connectivity to your backbone systems so that people are easy to get into the process, work along the process chains, get the work packages right, and yeah, make an end-to-end process happen for the company.
Oh, wow. What excites you about the business itself and that particular technology?
On the one hand, it's quite a challenge to build a process right. So I would see it like composing a piece of music. It's like really being the orchestrator and building something that sounds great at the end. Composing a process is something different. It's really a challenge to get things right. But once you get somebody in tune, it's really very accelerating to see what's happening and get people moving and get people into the topic. I mean, BPM is always a funny term because it's always also beat per minute from a music world. And that kind of really getting the beat right for the organization is kind of what BPM does.
Oh, wow. I love that description. Someone once said Mozart wasn't a great musician as such. He was a great mathematician. And maybe the same can be said about coders and systems as well. How does your personality reflect in FireStart as a company?
To be honest, I've always been a character that never liked to be told by anybody. So I was always like, when you're guiding a process, you also tell people what to do at the end of the day. So I think that reflects in the attitude we do with the software. But at the end of the day, it's really like, you want to be independent, and I think also a very independent character, and it's the same desire that our customers have. They want to be independent in the way how they run their processes, and I think a desire for independence is something that we really incorporated in our product philosophy, and it's also something that we see reflection in our clients. Yeah.
Did I see the phrase low code been used when we talk about your company, and what does low code technology mean?
It's actually not a technology. It's more like an approach in how do you get into engineering. And low code means like applying the principles that you usually have in software engineering, but on a more lightweight approach. So you have the same elements like abstraction, like composing architectures, but you try to do it on a business-oriented way so that you don't need to be a trained software engineer to do it, but you can come from the business unit and also be enabled to apply it with a low-code approach. It's kind of the future, because in the future, more and more business people will be involving, and you will have less deep dive technology on the engineering part available. And that's also a big transition, that people who can really bring in engineers to the team are also able to build automations on their own.
And there's sometimes a contradiction I hear, that with low code, not everybody can do it. You use it for very simple automations or simple flows. But when it comes to something a little bit more complex, then you need your proper coder. Do you find that, or what have you found to date?
I would say low code especially describes that kind of area, because it's in between like heavy code and no code. Yeah. So no code very often has these limitations that once you get into complex problems, you just hit the roof with the technology. But low code can give you like this 80-20 principle that 80% of engineering can be done by design, and maybe only 10 or 20% of the job for complex parts of the process where you need to code. And that's exactly the combination that I see as most fruitful, because you can then really solve the full problem, but on the 80-20 rule. And that's in terms of resource usage and speed to results is what you're looking for.
Gosh, it's interesting. I wish more folks would look from that dimension, because very often the industry now, and you'll have seen this quite a lot, it's either or. You either have coders or you don't. So it's nice to actually hear that, because I'm a bit of a fan of citizen developers. I have to say, digital organizations need everyone to push in the same direction. From your technology point of view, is there particular hotspots where it should be used? And is there areas where it just should not be used at all?
I think it's very much interesting when we have a very diverse process set. So when you have many products that you need to bring to the market, a lot of different services that you need to provide, that of course raises the bar for the processes that you need to automate. I would say if you really like a very specific purpose product or service, then usually it's not an investment in the BPM platform. But if you really have a diverse customer space, a diverse product portfolio, then that's definitely where a low-code approach can help you a lot.
Okay. What digital technologies are exciting you the most at the moment, Robert?
I mean, on the one hand, you have RPA, which is very much growing. So when you bring along software robots along your users in the workforce, that's a very interesting combination. So building processes between bots and users is kind of a big topic right now. On the other hand, you have a lot of machine learning, artificial intelligence that is evolving on a very high pace. And that also gives a lot of possibilities in how you build predictable workflows. So when you do like predictable resource allocation or predictable rule management, that's a very interesting technology also to bring along with BPM and workflow automation.
Where are you going to go in the near future, you and the company? What can we expect to see?
Well, right now we're pretty much in a scale-up phase, I would say. So we're growing into the US market, UK market from a regional standpoint. We do a lot of ramp up with our technology partnerships like UiPath, like Celonis, which give us a lot of end-to-end automation scenarios that we're working on. And if you look at the news, automation is hot anywhere. So pretty much every company needs to automate their processes to stay ahead of the game and get back control on the processes. And this is, I think, where we can help a lot of customers going forward to really get back in the driver's seat on your own process development.
Do you have typical customers, Robert? You know, is there a particular class of customer or business type that you work best with?
We have a pretty diverse customer set, but I would say a lot of in the food and beverage space, manufacturing, energy providers, utilities. It's quite a stronghold right now because they need to modernize their processes from a lot of legacy systems, which is now hot, but also public companies. If you look like our governments and city governments, they also now try to provide more digital services to their citizens. This is also where BPM and our workflow automation can help a lot bringing these services to the market.
Which is more important, data or process, or is it a mixture of both?
I think at the end you need both, because like if you want to automate your process, you can only do it on top of quality data. And this is as a foundation what you should have in place. On the other hand, you can, if you don't have the data quality in place, you can build workflows that help you ensure the data quality or build the data quality. So it's always like a two-side effect, but at the end of the day, you must take care of both automating a process, streamlining a process, and improving the data quality, because then you can go more for fully automated decision-making on top of your data and also combine it with artificial intelligence technologies, which also heavily depend on quality data.
What is the difference between enterprise workflow and robotic process automation?
Well, it's a topic that is fundamentally different, because like the enterprise workflow really comes from the architecture part, like how you design a process from a company's perspective. Versus mostly with robotic process automation, you aim to automate a process from an individual perspective. And it's not like one versus the other, it's just like two fundamentally different perspectives on how you tackle automation problems. And in an ideal world, you can really combine the enterprise process architecture with the individual automation capabilities for a user in a seamless experience. But the technologies are fundamentally different.
Do you think that combination of RPA plus enterprise workflow they're both required for successful digital transformation, or is it neither or scenario?
I think it's about the combination, because from an enterprise perspective, you don't have that much capabilities to fully personalize the process steps, because you want to create a process standard. And that very much conflicts like with the highly individual needs that you might have as a user. It also is very much different from the governance part. So the enterprise workflow is in the governance of the company, versus the robot is mostly in the governance of the user that the robot was designed for. So bringing these two together would be really like, okay, getting myself a personal assistant as a robot, and then we together as a team work along the process standards that the company would like to see in order to create the business value for their clients.
Robert, it was fantastic to hear about what you're doing in the independent spirit of the company today. But if people want to learn that a little bit more, how should they contact you or learn something extra about FireStart?
You can approach me anytime on LinkedIn. You can follow our LinkedIn channels on FireStart, or you can just go to www.firestart.com, and we have a ton of information, recordings there, where people can learn about what you can do with a technology like FireStart.
Robert, look, I really appreciate you coming along to talk to us today. Really enjoyed that tremendously. For folks, look, welcome. Thank you for coming to Digital Transformation Bite Size. Great to hear from Robert. Look, if you do want to find out a little bit more about FireStart and its technology, please reach out to him on LinkedIn or jump onto the website as well. Thank you very much. Stay safe, stay good, and I'll see you all soon.